Christ.
Today, especially in South America or Latin America, we remember and thank God for giving us Saint San Pedro Claver, a Spanish man born in Catalonia 60 years after Magellan came to the Philippines. And after 6 years of being ordained, he went to Colombia and ministered with the slaves, and he became the slave of the slaves, meaning the black people. He was so dedicated, he worked for 33 years there, with them. And during the 4 years before he died, he was already old. He also suffered from the bad treatment given to him by his caregiver, and he never complained. He was a missionary to the downtrodden, to the marginalized. His attitude reflects the gospel reading for today. His source of happiness was not based on his accomplishments as a missionary, doing this or doing that, but he chose to work with those marginalized. People hated him for working with them. Just like now, at least in the U.S., we have the phenomenon of Black Lives Matters. And maybe in our own life, we tend to marginalize people. We try to focus on what seems to bring us happiness. And in that way, in choosing, we marginalize people instead of looking at what God is telling us, just like what San Pedro Claver appreciated when he became a missionary. He chose to work with the marginalized. In the gospel, we are told, as Thomas Keating said, this is the program for happiness given to us by God himself. Blessed are you, happy are you if you opt for this. This is the way towards my kingdom. To be poor for the kingdom, to be hungry for the sake of the kingdom, to weep for the sake of the kingdom. When we are so focused on that, nothing will discourage us because we are there. And that focus is not only a mental process, it is a focus of the heart. The total person is in love with a particular cause. And that cause for Peter Claver was to serve the kingdom through the black people, the slaves in South America. These days, our concept, our appreciation of happiness was shattered by COVID-19. All our perception or sense of security was shattered. And we now cling to something which is probably not yet good enough. That's why we get anxious and depressed. Our anxiety, our depressions, if we are able to look beyond them, they are what a writer said, touch points that God is telling us. Look beyond. When we are anxious, when we are depressed, we only focus on our fragility and we don't have anything or nothing to hold on to. We become so insecure. Our depression, our anxiety produced by COVID-19 are God's call for us to look beyond ourselves. Peter Claver looked beyond himself. He served the marginalized. It is sometimes hard to look beyond ourselves, but it is a gift of God. God called us by our name. Let that call echo in our being, in our mind, and in our heart, in our soul, so that we will be able to see the goodness, the program for happiness in the things that are happening to us.